Is hiding the truth about one's identity ever justified to protect them? Would you choose duty or love? The grand ballroom breathed with opulence and murmurs, chandeliers casting liquid gold light that pooled on polished marble and silk. Lady Isabel stood poised near the towering windows, emerald eyes flickering beneath heavy lashes, her deep auburn hair cascading over a gown woven from midnight blue silk and silver thread. The air, thick with perfume and whispered secrets, felt suddenly stifling as if the walls themselves leaned in to listen. The masked ball pulsed with life. Music swelled, violins singing a melancholy serenade beneath hushed conversations and clinking crystal. Isabel's fingers curled tightly around her glass, the coolness a brittle contrast to her mounting apprehension. Her heart thrummed beneath the ornate fabric, an anxious drum rolling toward an inevitable storm. From the shadowed gallery above, Duke Radcliffe's figure emerged tall, imposing, his mask a ruthless visage of black and silver. His gaze, sharp as a dagger, locked onto Isabel with calculated malice. The room hushed as his voice, smooth yet dripping venom, cut through the melody. "Lady Isabel," he intoned, voice echoing with theatrical disdain. "It seems our noble court dines with shadows. Tell us, what blood courses through your veins to claim such grandeur? Or is it but a borrowed guise, a mask, like the rest here tonight?" A ripple of shocked gasps fluttered through the crowd. All eyes turned, some curious, others scornful, fixing on Isabel like a hunted fox encircled by hounds. The mask of noble composure began to crack. Isabel's emerald eyes flashed with hurt and defiance. "My blood is as true as any in this kingdom," she whispered, voice steady but edged with fragile pain. Radcliffe's smirk deepened. "Then perhaps the truth hides deeper. Who truly raised you, lady? The cradle's lullaby may not match the crown's demand." His words were poisons, dipped in insinuation. The court's whispers swelled, threads of doubt and disdain weaving a tapestry of exclusion around her. The chandeliers flickered, candlelight casting long shadows that danced like specters across faces. Isabel's breath hitched, the weight of centuries of secrets pressing upon her shoulders. Each rustle of a silk gown, each polite cough, was a reminder here. In this gilded cage, she was an outsider. A pile of folded silks shed from her shoulder, a delicate token dropped unnoticed, a whisper of vulnerability in the public theater of power. Eyes darted to the discarded finery, then back to her, judgment shrouded in glittered smiles. From across the hall, the king's gaze lingered on her, a flicker of something unreadable, a hint of recognition, or perhaps regret before he was drawn away by a pressing counsel. Isabel's jaw clenched. The room's opulence seemed suddenly cold, the air thinner, colder. Her breath trembled in the pause between whispers, between gazes, between truth and facades. Slowly, she stepped toward the shadowed corridor, the mask of supreme dignity slipping back into place even as tears pricked fiercely at her eyes. The echo of her footsteps on the marble was a solitary song, weak yet resolute. Behind her, Duke Radcliffe's laughter, low and cruel, mingled with the distant swell of the orchestra, light and shadow interwoven in the dance of power and betrayal. Outside the windows, the moon bathed the castle gardens in silver light, the statues frozen in eternal watchfulness. Isabel paused, lingering for a breath, the cool night air seeping through the cracks, touching her skin like a balm or a warning. Her shadow stretched long on the marble floor, fragmented like her place among the nobles, yet steadfast. The distant echo of a candle's flicker caught her eye, a small, defiant flame in the encroaching dark. And in that moment, isolated yet unbroken, Lady Isabel stood poised on the edge of a revelation, the first fragile step toward uncovering a hidden truth that would change everything. The heavy velvet drapes of the royal chamber were drawn closed, filtering the late afternoon light into deep pools of amber and shadow. Lady Isabel sat alone, her graceful form curled within the confines of an ornate chair carved with the entwined lions of the kingdom's crest, a symbol of strength she doubted she could claim. The rustle of silk against the polished marble was the only sound, punctuated by her steady, measured breaths as she grappled with the aftermath of the grand ball. Her emerald eyes were distant, fixed on the flickering candlelight before her, where shadows danced and coalesced like the secrets suffocating her soul. The laughter, the judgments, the poisoned whisper of Duke Radcliffe's accusation echoed relentlessly in her cruel cacophony that refused to fade. She clenched her hands lightly in her lap, nails pressing into flesh as an invisible weight bore down on her chest. The burn of shame threatened to spill beyond the confines of nobility's composure, yet she forced herself to stillness, a fragile mask of dignity amid the storm. The walls themselves seemed to lean closer beside a heavy tapestry depicting the kingdom's storied lineage. Each figure carved in grand relief refused to offer comfort. The weight of expectations, of hidden truths lurking beneath silks and jewels, pressed mercilessly on her spirit. Outside, the faint chime of distant bells carried through the still air, their melancholy notes threading between the dying light and the encroaching night. Isabel's thoughts churned. Was she merely a pawn in this cruel court's game? Was the blood she bore a thread of hope or a mark of exile? Her gaze drifted to the delicate silver mask resting on the vanity not worn, but placed carefully as if ready to be donned. Symbols of concealment and revelation tangled in the cold gleam. A faint, almost imperceptible shiver ran through her as a candle sputtered, casting the room into odd flickers of warmth and cold darkness. Her breath caught an emblem of the fragile line she walked between despair and courage. A soft knock broke the silence. The door eased open, revealing her lady-in-waiting's anxious silhouette. "My lady." The voice was low, tentative, an invitation to step beyond solitude. Isabel nodded, buoyed by the gentle concern that felt so distant from the night's earlier cruelty. Rising, she smoothed the folds of her gown, every movement a quiet defiance against the shadows clawing at her heart. She cast one last glance into the flickering candlelight, the flame a fragile beacon amidst a sea of doubts. Somewhere beyond these gilded walls, a story awaited, a truth buried beneath deception and fear, whispering promises only the brave might grasp. The camera pulled back slowly, tracing the lingering glow as it wavered near extinguishment, hinting at the first fragile sparks of resilience before the darkness. Isabel's lips parted, barely a whisper, "I will find my place." And in the cooling shadows of the chamber, a new resolve took root, quiet, trembling, yet fiercely alive. A solitary candle flickered in the chamber's dim recess, its golden light casting long, wavering shadows upon the cold stone walls that bore the weight of centuries. Lady Isabel, wrapped in a velvet cloak the color of midnight skies, knelt before a small, intricately carved wooden chest, its surface etched with faded royal insignias. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid, revealing a cluster of relics, fragments of opaque glass, a silver signet, and nestled beneath them, a delicate silver necklace, gleaming faintly even in the muted glow. Her breath caught as the pendant caught the candlelight, reflecting a myriad of iridescent hues like the secret heart of the palace breathing beneath the layers of time. The necklace felt unexpectedly heavy in her palm, a palpable link threading through the fabric of her concealed history. In that fragile object lay whispers of identity, promises of belonging, echoes of a lineage veiled by deception. The chamber's silence enveloped her, a cocoon surrounding the raw ache of recent disgrace. Yet within that quiet, the soft flickering of the candle seemed to kindle not just light but resolve. Her eyes, those emerald depths shimmering with the weight of unspoken dreams, lifted slowly to the vaulted ceiling where the opulence of chandeliers hung now distant and indifferent witnesses to the court's shifting fortunes. A breath of cold wind stirred the curtain, brushing against Isabel's cheek like a lover's secret or a ghost's caress. From the flickering shadows emerged the mask that had symbolized countless concealed truths, a reminder of the roles the court demanded and the faces the soul might wear to survive. Isabel reached toward it but hesitated, fingers hovering, before finally tightening around the object with renewed determination. The echo of distant footsteps and murmuring voices haunted the stone corridors outside, a symphony of intrigue and power. Still, within the chamber's embrace, a transformation unfolded, a delicate shift from wounded silence to a whispered promise of reclamation. The necklace lay against her heart, its gentle warmth radiating hope into the cold, daunting unknown. As the candle flickered once more, casting dancing silhouettes upon her features, a soft yet fierce smile curved her lips, a silent oath to uncover the truth veiled beneath layers of shadow, to claim the legacy stolen or lost. With steady breath, she rose, the heavy velvet gown sweeping across the floor like the slow unfurling of a dawn, spreading its light over a kingdom long cloaked in shadows. The camera lingered on the necklace's radiant gleam, the small, gleaming talisman suspended between shadow and light as Isabel stepped into the deepening twilight beyond her chamber, each step a quiet but unwavering stride toward the storms and secrets of the court. In that suspended moment, hope stirred, fragile but undefeated, kindled by the faint, warm glow of candlelight and the silent strength of a woman awakening to her destiny. The early morning sun spilled golden light onto the palace gardens, where dew clung to the dark emerald leaves like jewels kissed by the first breath of dawn. Lady Isabel moved through the mist-the-zed paths, each step deliberate and cautious, her richly embroidered gown swaying softly with the restorative breeze. The heavy silence was punctuated only by the distant call of a nightingale and the gentle rustle of petals falling from ancient trees. Cradled in her hands was the cryptic family heirloom, a small, ornate box inlaid with silver filigree and etched with symbols she didn't yet understand. Its presence stirred something deep within her, not just hope, but a fragile seed of courage planted amidst the fertile soil of doubt and pain. The cold weight of the necklace rested against her skin, its cool touch tingling like the whisper of secrets ready to bloom into truth. The shadows of Duke Radcliffe's cruel accusations lingered in her mind like a persistent echo, threatening to drown the fragile ember flickering in her soul. She paused beneath a sprawling oak, sunlight filtering through a tapestry of golden leaves, and let the warmth seep into her bones. Her emerald eyes scanned the palace spires, gleaming like beacons against the soft blue of the awakening sky. Somewhere in those towering halls were allies, uncertain and guarded, yet perhaps willing to believe the unspoken truths she carried. A soft voice, barely audible over the whisper of leaves, broke her reverie. "Lady Isabel." It was the gentle summons of Marcellin, a trusted confidant, her presence comforting and steady. "I've heard murmurs," Marcellin said cautiously, eyes flickering with both concern and hope. "Some among the court question the Duke's intentions. The king listens with his heart, though his lips guard secrets fiercely." Isabel's fingers tightened around the heirloom. "Then we have a thread to follow, a life to reclaim. But if Radcliffe's shadow stretches so long, every step will be a trial." The distant chime of the palace clock echoed, its solemn tone marking time like a heartbeat both steady and relentless. Isabel inhaled deeply, her breath mingling with the cooling mist, resolve edging her voice. "I will not allow fear to bind me. Not now. Not ever." Marcellin nodded, a spark of solemn understanding passing between them. "Then we begin anew with whispers and careful steps." As they moved slowly through the garden's labyrinth, their silhouettes melding with the awakening light, the camera lingered on the ornate box clasped in Isabel's hands, a symbol of hidden lineage, burgeoning strength, and the perilous path ahead. But beyond the garden walls, the flicker of shadow shifted Duke Radcliffe, cloaked in twilight and malice, watching, waiting. His smile was a dark promise, the game far from over. The scene faded on Isabel's steady gaze toward the rising sun, with hope newly kindled, yet dangers closing like the gathering dawn. The flickering candlelight in the dim council chamber cast long, restless shadows as Lady Isabel stood at the center, her gaze unflinching despite the storm swirling within. The ornate tapestries lining the walls depicted generations of monarchs' lineage, both revered in fear, silent witnesses to the unraveling of secrets that threatened to tear the court asunder. Isabel's fingers tightened on the cryptic heirloom she had uncovered, its silver cooled by the breath of the room, a fragile testament to truths yet to be unearthed. Yet even as small clusters of nobles began to murmur their tentative support, the oppressive presence of Duke Radcliffe loomed like an unyielding storm cloud, his eyes sharp and calculating beneath his dark, jeweled mask. In the flickering light, Radcliffe's voice slithered through the chamber, cutting through fragile alliances with ruthless precision. "Madam," he sneered softly, voice laced with contempt, "your quest for truth is admirable in its naivety. But courts thrive not on secrets unearthed, but on those buried deep. Beware what you chase, lest you unshackle shadows that consume not just your fate, but that of the kingdom." The courtiers exchanged uneasy glances. Some stepped closer to Isabel, emboldened by her quiet strength. Others shrank back, ensnared by Radcliffe's insinuations. Isabel's breath hitched, the chamber's atmosphere thickening with tension. Her emerald eyes locked onto Radcliffe's, a steely fire kindling within despite the gusts threatening to extinguish it. Later, in the solitude of the palace's rose gardens where fragrant blooms belied the turmoil of power, Isabel wrestled with unseen tides. The moon cast silver through ancient branches, glinting off the delicate necklace clasped tight within her palm. The whispers of betrayal echoed faintly among the petals. The seed of doubt Radcliffe had planted had taken root, and the cost of gathering allies became painfully clear. Friendships frayed. Secrets whispered behind velvet curtains. A gentle breeze stirred, lifting the hem of her gown and carrying with it the distant toll of the chapel bell, a somber reminder of the burdens she bore. "Must I always walk alone?" she murmured to the night, voice thick with quiet resolve. The following days blurred hidden meetings behind closed doors, swift glances loaded with unspoken promises and threats. Each victory tasted bittersweet, tainted by the ever-present shadow of betrayal. One confidant faltered, swayed by Radcliffe's silver tongue, another vanished under mysterious circumstances. Isabel felt the fragile web of her support weaken, the cold palace corridors seeming to close in tighter. Yet, in the darkest hour before dawn, Isabel's resolve hardened. Standing beneath a sky bruised with stars, she whispered to herself, "Truth is a flame, it may flicker, but it will not be extinguished." Her eyes found the heirloom again, a beacon in the night, and with it, a surge of newfound courage. The chamber's shadows still danced menacingly, but the queen-in-waiting began to weave strength from despair. As the scene faded, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. Duke Radcliffe, his smile a razor edge, folding a folded letter sealed with crimson wax. The camera lingered on the insignia, the weight of the message an ominous promise. The court's fate, and Isabel's, pivoted delicately on the cusp of revelation and ruin. The secret chamber breathed with the weight of centuries, its walls adorned with faded tapestries depicting the kingdom's history, heroes, betrayals, and shadows woven in crimson and gold. Lady Isabel stood alone amidst the hushed silence, fingers trembling as they traced a dust-covered chest nestled beneath a carved stone altar. The air was thick with the scent of wax and old parchment, candlelight dancing softly over the ancient relics scattered across the chamber floor. Her heart hammered fiercely as she lifted the heavy lid, revealing a cache of letters, jewels, and an intricately embroidered banner bearing the royal crest-proof long hidden, concealed by those desperate to rewrite fate. A royal seal glinted, untouched, a careless misstep in the web spun by Duke Radcliffe. Suddenly, footsteps echoed, a harsh intrusion shattering the fragile stillness. Panic surged, yet Isabel's resolve solidified. Moments later, hands she had once trusted reached out, snapping the chest shut and ripping the evidence from her grasp. Betrayal revealed in a cold glance from an unexpected court ally. "You play a dangerous game, my lady," whispered the traitor, voice heavy with warning and regret. "Some truths aren't meant to see the light." Isabel's emerald gaze burned with grief and fury. "Then why hide the future that belongs to the kingdom?" The chamber's candle flickered wildly as the traitor fled, leaving behind a faint trail of conspiracy thickening the air. Alone again, Isabel's hands closed around a partially charred letter, the words barely legible, yet cutting deep. "Blood once lost demands a price beyond reckoning." Her breath caught, a tide of despair threatening to pull her beneath the weight of secrets and lies. Yet within that darkness, the faint glow of the necklace pulsed against her skein, a heartbeat defiant, refusing surrender. The distant toll of the palace bell tolled ominously, each reverberation echoing the rising storm enveloping her world. Shadows of doubt crept through corridors, alliances faltered, and the walls whispered of imminent treason. "Isabel," a voice murmured in the shadows, a brief, tender exchange with the king himself, laden with unspoken promises and sorrow. "The crown is heavier than the truth you seek." Torn between loyalty and love, duty and desire, she folded the heirloom close, the fragile relic now a symbol of burden and hope intertwined. The camera pulled back slowly, capturing Isabel framed by the ancient stone archway, her figure poised on the precipice of unraveling and revelation, the chamber's gloom a testament to the sacrifices yet to come. As the screen faded to black, the heartbeat of the necklace lingered, a solitary note heralding the turning tide and the dawn of an inevitable reckoning. The castle walls loomed cold and implacable, wrapped in a thick mist that blurred the sharp edges of the towering stone. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of damp and decay, veiling the once grand halls where whispers now crawled like spiders stitching webs of doubt and despair. Lady Isabel sat alone on the hard bench within the dimly lit chamber, a prison not merely of stone but of betrayal and mounting desolation. Her gown, rich in blues and silvers that once caught the light of countless chandeliers, now hung in sorrowful folds, shadows clinging tightly as if mourning with her. Her fingers traced absent patterns on the worn wood beneath her, the coldness seeping through the fabric of her gloves, grounding her in the bleak silence. The vague echo of footsteps died away down the corridor, leaving behind a cavernous quiet that amplified the savage thump of her heart. Isolated in this bleak cell, the warmth of candlelight, the soft glow that once illuminated secretive confidences, was replaced by the chill of abandonment. Each flicker of the muted flame cast her pallid reflection against the rough stone, fragmented and fractured like the identity that once seemed sure but was now unraveling. Her emerald eyes, deep and aching, flickered with the broken fragments of hope slipping irretrievably through the hourglass of her fate. The weight of the stolen evidence, the silenced truth, and the whispered accusations pressed upon her soul like the suffocating cloak of night. Words once vibrant with promise faded into hollow echoes. Innocent, she breathed, a ghost trapped within her own chest, the word falling into the oppressive stillness without answer or solace. Outside her window, the relentless rain pelted the battlements, the cold drops a cruel mirror of the turmoil raging within. The chill seeped into her bones, a physical ache that mirrored the emotional void expanding with every passing moment. The heavy clasp of chains echoed softly in distant chambers, a grim reminder of her fragile mortal bindings. Her gaze drifted to the pendant resting against her heart, a delicate, cryptic heirloom, once a flicker of destiny, now a fragile ember struggling against the winds of despair. In the vast cathedral of shadows, where power and deceit intertwined, her name had become a weapon aimed to fracture the fragile thread between identity and truth. And as darkness deepened, so too did the growing fissures within her soul. Silence stretched, a suffocating tide swallowing the last flickers of certainty. Isabel's breath faltered. The world narrowed to the cold stone beneath her, the pale light above, and the agonizing distance from everything she once knew. Her shoulders sagged. The grand ball, the whispered alliances, the tender glances from the king, all now distant memories fading into the relentless abyss. And in that cruel, intimate moment of unraveling, the queen unmade in the shadows of her own destiny, the profound, raw ache of loss settled deep, the precipice beyond which few dared to look or linger. The dungeon air was thick with damp and despair. Lady Isabel sat on the cold stone floor, her back pressed against the rough, unforgiving wall, the flickering torch beside her casting long, twisted shadows that danced like specters across the room. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant drip of water echoing through the labyrinthine corridors, each drop sounding like a heartbeat slipping further from hope. Her emerald eyes, once vibrant with determination, now stared vacantly into the abyss. The weight of her captivity was a suffocating shroud, pressing down not only on her body but burrowing deep into the recesses of her soul. The heirloom, that fragile relic of truth and promise, lay shattered beside Heir's broken fragments reflecting shards of her fractured dreams. The cold seeped through the tattered silk of her gown, chilling her to the bone, but it was no match for the frost that gripped her spirit, a relentless winter that gnawed away at her sense of self. Her breath wavered, each inhale a struggle. Her heartbeat slowed, sinking with the oppressive stillness. A solitary candle, sitting forlornly at the far corner, flickered weakly, barely illuminating the dungeon's oppressive gloom. Its dying flame seemed a metaphor for her own dwindling resolve, flickering against the dark tide that threatened to consume her entirely. Isabel's fingers lightly traced the cold edge of a broken shard of the necklace. The delicate silver that once symbolized hidden heritage now felt like a cruel reminder of all she had lost. She clutched it lightly, as if holding on to the last vestiges of a self slipping beyond reach. The sounds of footsteps approached, distant and hollow, then receded, a ghostly reminder of the outside world that no longer included her. Her thoughts drifted, memories flickering like candlelight warmth now unattainable, love whispered in fleeting touches, the heavy crown of duty that had felt both a burden and a balm. Her lips parted, a whisper barely heard, "Am I to be forgotten?" No answer came but the hush of her own despair. The walls closed in, the shadows lengthened, and the silence deepened, a suffocating void in which time itself seemed to unravel. Slowly, her head sank forward, chin nearly touching her chest, the weight of grief bending her will. The remnants of her noble stature, like the flickering candle, began to waver, trembling on the brink of extinction. Outside, the faint pulse of distant torches flickered, a world moving onward, indifferent to the suffering within. And yet, amidst the crushing quiet, the subtle movement of her fingers clasped tightly over the broken heirloom suggested a heartbeat still faintly alive, a last fragile spark against the engulfing darkness. The scene held Isabel alone on the cold stone floor, the dying candle's light wavering and the heavy silence swallowing all but the fragile pulse of fading hope. The dungeon's cold stone walls closed in around Isabel, suffocating and unyielding, as if the very fortress sought to crush the fragile ember of hope buried deep within her soul. Her shoulders, once proud and regal, now slumped in exhaustion, the silk of her gown torn and stained, a stark contrast to the elegance that had once commanded the court's attention. The flickering candlelight struggled against the crushing darkness, casting long, wavering shadows that danced like ghosts of a life slipping away. In her lap, the remnants of the necklace lay shattered, a symbol of her lineage fractured by treachery and loss. Yet, despite the ruin, the faintest glimmer of light caught Isabel's eye. A breeze, soft and unexpected, stirred the broken glass on the floor, sending a prism of colors scattering across the cold stones. It was a small, almost imperceptible sign. In the depths of despair, light still found a way to seep through. Her emerald eyes lifted slowly, fading memories folding into the present, the warm glow of candlelight illuminating whispered secrets in grand halls, the steady weight of the crown symbolizing both burden and promise, and the mask concealing truths, yet hinting at the freedom awaiting if she dared to unveil her true self. A faint whisper brushed her ear, barely audible over the silence. "Hope is not lost." Isabel's breath caught as a figure approached, a guard whose eyes softened with an unspoken sympathy. He placed a folded piece of parchment beside her, the seal broken, edges worn but the ink still legible. With trembling fingers, she unfolded the letter, reading words that hinted at a truth long concealed, a lineage stronger than any accusation, a promise of justice beyond the shadows. Her heart, once heavy with defeat, stirred an ember sparked by the whispered truths carried in the paper's fragile folds. The necklace's shattered pieces, the coldness of the dungeon, and the chains binding her flesh could not snuff this quiet conviction rising within. Silent tears traced through grime and dust, and for the first time in endless nights, a fragile, unwavering resolve settled upon her features. The candle's flame steadied, casting a warmer glow as the screen lingered on Isabel's gaze, fierce and unyielding despite the weight of solitude. The camera pulled back slowly, revealing the vast emptiness of the dungeon, yet within, a solitary figure reclaimed her dignity through whispered promise and steadfast courage. As darkness receded before this silent dawn, the last note of an orchestral swell whispered the eternal truth: the story was far from over, and hope, even in its faintest form, remained. The dawn's earliest light seeped softly through the stained glass windows of the grand hall, casting a mosaic of warm colors that danced across the opulent silk drapes and gilded pillars. Lady Isabel stood alone at the balcony overlooking the gardens, her silhouette delicate yet firm against the awakening court. The air was thick with scent of blooming roses and the faint scent of incense, a subtle contrast to the shadows still lingering at the edge of her mind. In her hand, she clutched a faintly glowing fragment, a shard of the broken heirloom that had once symbolized her uncertain destiny. Its luminous surface reflected the slow flicker of hope stirring within her, a fragile ember trying to ignite amid lingering doubts. The turbulent storm of betrayal and loss that had threatened to swallow her whole was no longer the dominant force. Instead, a new, cautious awakening was taking root. Softly, her emerald eyes traced the sprawling gardens beneath, where dew-glinted petals shimmered like tiny promises. The stillness was a balm to her battered spirit, and for the first time, she recognized that silence once deafening began to offer a chance for clarity. The light cast shadows that danced like whispers of the past, but they no longer held dominion over her. Her lips parted for a moment, hesitant but gentle, an almost imperceptible sign of awakening. The weight of her earlier despair still lingered, a ghost tethered to her soul, but within it flickered the faint forerunner of strength that refused to be extinguished. Every thought of betrayal, every echo of her stolen evidence, now coalesced into a quiet resolve to claim her voice. A gentle breeze stirred the silken curtains, carrying with it the distant melodic chime of church bells, sounds not of despair, but of hope awakening anew. She breathed deeply, the cool air filling her lungs with tentative promise. The palace, once a fortress of shadows, now basked in the soft glow of dawn, hinting at a new chapter waiting just beyond the horizon. Walking slowly away from the balcony, she lifted her hand to tuck a loose strand of auburn hair behind her ear. Her gaze, luminous and contemplative, lingered on the fragment of heirloom, the dark substance pulsing softly in her palm like a heartbeat reclaiming its rhythm. Her shoulders, once hunched under the weight of betrayal, now eased slightly, as if the dawn was washing away the burden of despair. At that moment, the court's turmoil, its sneers, whispers, and broken alliances faded into a distant murmuration. In this sacred space of quiet reflection, a fragile spark of renewal flickered, hints of strength, quiet yet unyielding. She knew her journey was far from over, the shadows still lingered, and the storm's echoes threatened to return. But for now, amidst the bloom of new light, hope dared to blossom. And as her figure merged with the rising sun, the camera pulled back, capturing the delicate silhouette against the golden horizon, a symbol of emerging resilience, the first breath of renewal amidst the chaos. The grand hall was alive with a tense stillness, the golden chandeliers casting a warm, trembling light over the assembled courtiers. Lady Isabel moved through the crowd like a whisper of wind, initial hesitations overtaken by a fierce resolve. Her gown, in brilliant blues and shimmering silvers, caught and reflected the candlelight, a symbol of her luminous strength emerging from shadow. Centered in the room, a small table held her carefully curated evidence documents, letters, and tokens, each piece a fragment of her truth, her destiny. The air smelled of polished wood and faint incense, a ceremonial scent that now carried the scent of courage. As she approached the throne, the whispers grew softer. Her emerald eyes, calm and unwavering, met the king's gaze's silent declaration that her story, long denied, was ready to be told. With deliberate grace, she laid the evidence on the dais, a quiet challenge to the lies spun by Radcliffe and his enablers. Your Majesty. Her voice was steady but infused with the fiery undercurrent of purpose. Truth has been hidden within shadows for too long. Here is what uncovers my utterance. My lineage is as noble as any in this court, and my claim is built on the blood of kings, not false crowns. The court's murmurs surged like a rising tide, some aghast, others whispering in cautious support. The king leaned forward, eyes searching her face for the truth beneath her words. "Lady Isabel," he said softly, "your courage rivals the fiercest of storms." Behind her, Duke Radcliffe's face twisted briefly, an expression of fury masked quickly by calculation. Yet Isabel's focus remained unshaken, her gaze a beacon illuminating the path forward. In a moment of divine quiet, she lifted her hand not in defiance, but in resolute pursuit of justice. Then, suddenly, a flicker of movement on encrypted letter, hidden beneath the evidence, slipped from her grasp, caught by an aide and held aloft in silent question. The room veered into chaos, gasps, hushed words, and rapid whispers. But Isabel's attention was elsewhere, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. The chamber's shadows seemed to lift, revealing the depths of her unwavering spirit. The crown of her head lifted higher, her shoulders eased, and in her eyes, a spark ignited, an inspiring realization that her purpose had finally surfaced from the depths of despair. Across the court, the king finally spoke, voice echoing with clarity and authority. "Lady Isabel, your truth has illuminated the darkness. Radcliffe's deceit is laid bare. Today, we renew the promise of justice, an end to shadows, and the dawn of rightful sovereignty." The court erupted in a chorus of affirmations, the tension dissolving like mist under the morning sun. With each proclamation, Isabel felt the weight of her suffering transform into luminous strength. The shadows receded, replaced by a radiant dawn, the beginning of a new chapter built on truth, courage, and love. As she looked once more into the king's eyes, a profound silence settled the words unspoken yet understood. In that moment, the hall seemed to hold its breath, honoring her rise from despair to oath, from silence to voice. In the hushed awe that followed, Isabel's gaze lingered on the intricate crown above, the symbol not just of power, but of the burdens willingly embraced for justice. And as the scene faded, her figure was bathed in a soft glow, an emblem of hope, resilience, and the dawn of her rightful destiny. The grand hall shimmered with the glow of the rising sun spilling through the arched windows, casting luminous patterns over the gilded walls and marble floors. Lady Isabel, cloaked in a gown of deep azure and silver threads, stood at the center of the chamber, resolute, her eyes ablaze with a newfound strength. Every breath she took was steady, infused with the quiet confidence of a woman reborn, not just by royal decree but by her own unyielding resolve. The heirloom, once a fragile remnant of doubt, now shone like a beacon, its delicate filigree catching the light, a symbol not only of her concealed lineage but of her awakening. As she drew her hand across her chest, the faint outline of the pendant against her gown seemed to pulse with a quiet rhythm, like a heartbeat echoing her courage. The court watched with bated breath, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of roses and promise. Courtiers, noblemen, and ladies all waiting for the moment that would forever alter the fabric of their world. At her side, the king's piercing gaze softened into admiration and recognition, the weight of the deception lifted in a silent accord. Duke Radcliffe's expression flickered, briefly shadowed, then masked with a veneer of aristocratic calm, yet his eyes betrayed a flicker of defeat beneath the guise of serenity. He had underestimated her strength. He had misjudged her conviction. "My lord," Isabel's voice rang clear, unwavering, her words flowing like a tide of truth, yet gentle in their authority. "The shadows of deception have long darkened these halls, but light pierces even the deepest gloom." A swift, imperceptible gesture from the king, and the courtiers unfurled the royal scroll affirming her rightful claim as the kingdom's true heir. The room erupted in applause, a chorus of affirmation that echoed through the vaulted ceilings, silencing doubt and sealing her destiny. In that sacred moment of victory, Isabel's gaze lingered on the crown and emblem of both burdens and blessings sand, the luminous heirloom nestled against her heart. Her hands clasped the necklace softly, a silent vow that she would wield her strength with justice, her love with courage, and her truth with unwavering resolve. Outside, the palace gardens awoke with the symphony of dawn birds chirping, the soft rustle of leaves symbols of renewal and hope. The scene lingered on Isabel's serene face, the embodiment of the dawn of a new era, a testament to resilience and the triumphant embrace of love and identity. As her figure faded into the golden light, the camera pulled back, an eternal witness to the beginning of a renewed kingdom, and the inspiring journey of a woman who dared to reclaim her destiny in the face of darkness. Dusk settled softly over the kingdom, casting a warm, amber glow that pooled across the royal gardens and spilled gently through the open windows of the palace chambers. Lady Isabel, now cloaked in a gown of deep azure that shimmered like lake waters beneath a gentle sky, moved with a grace tempered by profound reflection. Her emerald eyes, once clouded by doubt and shadows, now shimmered with the calm of acceptance and unspoken peace woven into her every step. She approached the window, the delicate heirloom resting softly against her collarbone, catching the last flickers of sunlight. Its faint glow seemed to mirror the warmth blooming in her chest, a quiet gratitude for the tumultuous journey that had forged her new sense of self. The chaos and betrayals those shadows had begun to recede, replaced by an understanding deep within that her true strength had always resided in her heart. The palace was tranquil, the murmurs of courtiers and the distant toll of bells settling into a gentle rhythm of renewal. Lady Isabel's gaze lingered on the sprawling gardens, not as a battlefield of treachery but as a sanctuary of hope. The soft breeze fluttered her gown and whispered secrets of a future unwritten, yet full of promise. In that moment of stillness, she reached to the heirloom, her fingers caressing its intricate surface, feeling the faint warmth of hope and resilience pulsing through its delicate lines. It symbolized her rebirth, a crown not of gold but of inner strength, forged in shadows and revealed in light. A soft smile curved her lips as she turned from the window, her posture upright, her soul unburdened at last. The rooms around her hummed with an unspoken harmonia, testament to her journey from despair to peace. Every scar of betrayal, every tear shed for truths lost, had carved the foundation of her new identity. Her hand moved gracefully to her bosom, clasping the heirloom close, a silent vow that she would carry her story not as a weight but as a gift, an unbreakable link tying her past and future. Her emerald eyes, now luminous with resolve, looked toward the horizon, an invitation to whatever tomorrow might hold. The camera slowly pulled back, the scene bursting into a canvas of warm colors, amber, gold, and soft lavender, symbolizing hope and renewal. Lady Isabel's silhouette stood resolute, framed against the dying light, a quiet muse of transformation. Her journey, fraught with shadows, had matured into a melody of strength and belonging, a testament that even amid chaos, peace and purpose could be woven anew. The evening sky was ablaze with hues of amber and violet, casting a warm glow over the palace balcony where Lady Isabel stood, her silhouette elegantly framed against the tapestry of twilight. The heirloom, gently clasped in her trembling palm, caught the fading light, a shining symbol of the transformation she had embraced. Her emerald eyes, once filled with doubt and despair, now radiated a quiet, steadfast resolve and unspoken grace born from the crucible of her journey. The palace's expansive gardens stretched behind her, the path from shadow to light reflected in her quiet breath, the faint rustle of leaves whispering tales of renewal. The tumult of her past betrayal, loss, and the weight of concealed truth had begun to settle, replaced by a profound peace that blossomed like the first flower of spring. She closed her eyes momentarily, allowing a soft smile to cross her lips, a gesture of forgiveness, of acceptance, and of belonging. Her fingers lingered on the heirloom's delicate surface as if anchoring herself to the newfound clarity. Every scar of doubt had become a testament to her strength, every tear a chapter in the story of her awakening. Behind her, the shadows of the court, once threatening, now retreated in the warm embrace of the encroaching night, symbolic of the darkness that had been cast aside. The lanterns lining the palace corridors flickered softly, their light a gentle reminder that even in chaos, peace could be found. Turning inward, Isabel reflected on the prince she'd loved, the secrets she'd uncovered, and the throne she now claimed with a humble, grateful heart. Every moment of pain had woven itself into the fabric of her rebirth. Every challenge had sculpted her into the woman she was becoming. She lifted her gaze to the star-studded sky, where the first celestial luminaries emerged, silent witnesses to her journey from shadows to illumination. Her hand reached out, caressing the heirloom once more, the warmth of the moment enveloping her like sunlight breaking through clouds, promising hope beyond despair. Her expression softened, a testament to the belief that love and truth could prevail even over the greatest of trials. The scene lingered as the camera pulled back, capturing her figure amidst the tranquil beauty of the night, a symbol of resilience and serenity, the culmination of a story woven with courage, forgiveness, and the unbreakable pursuit of belonging. In that quiet, luminous moment, she understood that her journey was not ending but transforming, an eternal dance between past and future, shadows and stars, always marching toward hope. The twilight painted the sky with hues of soft gold and lingering violet as Isabel stood atop the palace's highest balcony, her figure silhouetted against the vast expanse of the evening starlit heavens. The heirloom, now rejoined with her, hung delicately at her neck, catching the last whispers of dusk's glow. Her emerald eyes, once clouded with doubt, now flickered with a luminous serenity, a calm born of quiet acceptance and profound understanding. Below, the sprawling gardens stretched endlessly, the ancient trees whispering their timeless secrets in the gentle breeze. Flowers glowed softly in the twilight darkness, their petals unfolding in silent testament to renewal. The crown of her legacy, symbolized by light and shadow, rested comfortably on her shoulders, a crown not of gold, but crafted from resilience, love, and unspoken truths. Her breath was slow and steady, matching the peaceful rhythm of the universe. The chaos that once threatened to drown her, betrayal, accusations, the heavy weight of concealment, had dissolved into a whisper, replaced by a profound sense of belonging. The shadows that clung to her past dimmed beneath the warm glow of hope that now filled the night. A faint smile curved her lips, tender and unwavering, as she clasped her hands gently over her heart, embracing her story, her scars, her triumphs. The delicate heirloom swayed lightly with the evening breeze, a fragile symbol of her journey from darkness to dawn. The distant murmurs of the palace echoed into the vast silence, an ode to the peace that had finally settled upon her soul. Her gaze lingered upon the stars forming a silver canopy, each one shining as a silent witness to her transformation, an eternal testament to the power of love, truth, and redemption. Behind her, the palace sparkled softly, veiled in a shimmering haze, a sanctuary of hope and renewal. The garden's gentle rustle whispered promises of new beginnings, of stories yet to be written in the ink of courage and trust. Her figure, draped in hope and serenity, slowly fused with the nighttime emblem of resilience glowing in the hush of eternity. And in this tranquil tableau, the camera drew back, capturing the vast universe cradling Heir's silent, infinite embrace. The story of shadows defeated, of truth embraced, and of love triumphant lingered in the stillness, a poetic silence sealing her place in history, and in her own heart the eternal promise of peace. Have you ever witnessed a secret so grand that it changed everything? Share your thoughts.